I'm pretty sure it's been a really long time since we checked over the ledger. Let's definitely do that here. Check over development, army size, and naval force limits. So let's start with development. It looks like the USA is still on top, but actually, I mean, they don't necessarily have a super huge lead. Peru just behind them with less than maybe 200 more. I mean, about 200 more development to go. Peru, I think, has less chances to expand, though, than someone like the USA does. Obviously, the USA having stakes in, obviously, North America, but as well as Western Africa is the big difference. So they could potentially go after some of those independent Portuguese colonies because, you know, they're not doing so well. Russia definitely has fallen behind. Definitely, you know, they were forced to release a few nations. You know, I don't know exactly what happened to the AI. I think it's always a struggle to handle the massive Russian military when the Russian Empire is just so huge. It's hard to kind of orchestrate and defend lands and not get too much war exhaustion when bringing someone from all the way from Western Russia to Eastern Russia to fight, you know, the Eastern Asian countries. Norway, surprisingly, actually not even surprisingly, no, we should have expected this. Norway very high in 4th place. Greece at in 5th place. There we go. There's Gabon. Prussia's lost quite a bit of lands, and I'll go over that. So they were probably much higher before, maybe even above Gabon. But because they lost their war with Austria, that was a big problem. Revolutionary France still really high, way too high, in my opinion, on the list. Revolutionary France hasn't done anything the entire campaign, so they've been very massively disappointing. Persia, Australia, surprised that South Africa is so high on there. I like to see Naples and Africa, I think, Egypt is slowly starting to drop more and more. Anyways, let's go ahead and check on army sizes. I do like to check on best leader in the world. Who has the best leader in the world? Tidor, which I'm surprised they're still around. Then the USA, Persia, Prussia, Corkand. The USA have 2. Geez. 2 of the top 6 are from America. That's almost not... Oh, and they've got a 3rd one in like the top 15 or something like that. Okay, here we go. Army sizes. So let's just check on total for now. We'll also double check on force limit. So the Americans still have a huge force limit, 787. They also have the biggest army in the world, so they would be able to technically take on Peru. That is pretty shocking. I wasn't expecting that. But keep in mind that Peru also has some interesting alliances, very interesting alliances, where the USA don't as much. The USA are somewhat lacking in that. Gabon also with a massive force, but they haven't really decided to go to war with anybody. Surprised to see Revolutionary France so high on the list. Australia. Whoa, where did Cuba come from? Yeah, keep in mind, though, there's been quite a few wars that have gone down, so, you know, some of the nations that aren't normally at the top are at the bottom. Or, I'm sorry, yeah, and vice versa. So, you know, normally some of the nations that maybe are at the bottom are at the top. So the USA have the biggest force limit by far. Then it's Peru and Russia very close together. Gabon, Norway, Australia, Greece, Revolutionary France, Prussia, South Africa, Alaska. Okay, Navy sizes. I always like checking in on this because I know that I always tend to underestimate the importance of a Navy, but it really is very crucial at times to be able to blockade somebody. So Peru actually has almost the amounts that the Americans have in terms of force limit. If it was about naval warfare, I think it'd be very close. They both have about the same amount of ships right now. Norway's got 138, so they would be able to dominate most of... Actually, no. They have the force limit over Naples, but if Naples and Norway were to ever go to war, it would be kind of an interesting one, since their fleets are so similarly sized. Spanish Pacific have 137 ships? What? That's crazy. The Greeks only have 35, but they've got a pretty large force limit. I don't think their economy can sustain it. Anyways, actually, you know, I really want to check on the Spanish Pacific now, like how they're not that big. We've got Spanish Pacific Indonesia. They do control, I know they have like a lot of lands out this way, but that's shocking. Anyways, let's go ahead and go over all the wars that are currently going on in this world. We have still Tibet versus Qing. We have Portuguese Mauritania versus Spain. and Guyenne is on their side. So the USA are at war. So here's one. The USA called in Egypt to help them out against revolutionary France, and Egypt's been supporting them for a little bit. I know it's kind of a distant war, but I don't know how much they might have sent over. The thing is, though, Persia just declared an imperialist war against Egypt. Egypt calling in the USA, Austria, and Mombasa. Persia calling in Adal and Gabon. That will be a really interesting war, and that is the biggest right now. Switzerland declared war on Italy because of Italy. Italy's been struggling. They struggled in their previous Austrian war. The Greeks were the only ones out of the three powers that, not too many bad things happened to them. Obviously, Italy is not doing so well. Provence picked up a province. Sardinia, Piedmont was released, and then Austria grabbed a whole bunch of things out in this territory. Yep, all along these kind of northern Italian lands, modern-day northern Italian lands, as well as Austria grabbed back a lot of the land that they formerly had taken away from them by the Prussians from the north. So, yeah, Prussia's not looking as well. They're looking okay, but they're looking like more of a traditional Prussia. Austria is back in the game, I would say. Definitely back in the game. If Austria wanted to, they could probably go after Bavaria and become a very powerful force in the hearts of... Oh, what's going on with Naples? Naples is at war because of who? Because the USA are allied... Wait a second. Where is this coming from? Is it Australia? Oh, it might be Australia. Yes, because Naples is allied to Australia. Australia declared an imperialist war, more than likely something out there along the Indian Ocean or Pacific Ocean, and they're making Naples pay. That's for sure. So I don't think revolutionary France is going to take anything, though. I don't think so. Anyways, let's go to the Middle East. Let's go to the Arabian Peninsula. This is the very interesting point. Very big war currently happening right now. Now, the USA, I'm pretty sure... Well, they're not preoccupied with revolutionary France in North America, that is. So they could easily send over forces, but could there be some sort of resistance that they might see in terms of naval resistance out here in the Atlantic Ocean? That's very much possible, but they could still potentially land. That would give Gabon a lot of trouble. Gabon a lot of trouble. So I don't know how that is going to work out for them. Adal is okay, but I think that most of the Egyptian regiments are here to face the Persians. So the Egyptians have about 100,000 men. The Persians, I believe, have about the same. The thing about Persia is that they have the alliance on their side. Well, actually, not necessarily. Egypt has the alliance. They've got a very good alliance as well. Revolutionary France is kind of preoccupied. But if the Americans actually send things over to Africa, which I think is entirely possible, because they might desire Gabon lands. They don't like this nation, so it is very possible. Here's a 35 stack. But Gabon will be sitting there waiting for them. I was very shocked to see this many forces. They had a lot of forces on their side, on Gabon's side, that is. So, remember, the Americans don't have that many transport ships. That's the thing. They don't have that many transport ships at all. So they'd only be able to send over, I'm thinking, under 100,000 men at a time. That would be enough for this African nation, I think, to stop them. Ooh, but Mombasa, I forgot about this Eastern African nation. They might cause a little bit of trouble, more trouble than we're thinking. Adal's got a 60 stack, though. That's pretty okay. Egypt's going down south, which would be freeing up the Persian regiments to do whatever they want in northern Egypt. And we also have to keep in mind, make sure that no one else joins in on the war. Switzerland and Italy still haven't peaced out just yet. Spanish Pacific, we've been keeping an eye on that. Persia's at -4 war score. This is imperialist war, so we'll have to keep that in mind. Corsica, when was Corsica released? Oh, they must have been released because of the fall of Italy. That's right. They've been released, actually. I just wasn't even paying attention, I'm guessing. Aha, there's Corsica right there. And then Sardinia was released. How do you have Sardinia Piedmont and a separate Sardinia? That shouldn't be going on, but okay. Persia not really moving very much, not really utilizing this war as much as they should. If they don't move fast, this is not going to go so well for them. Georgia, I didn't realize Georgia was also involved in a war. Yeah, they need to start, sieging things out in Egypt. They need to go after Alexandria, which I believe is probably still their capital. Well, I don't know exactly their capital province. here, I believe. Yes. Cairo, that's right. But it's not. I'm guessing Alexandria is the city. I'm thinking. I'm thinking Civ 5. I think I'm thinking of Civ 5 here. Okay, so what's going on with the Americans? The Americans do have a force, and they're moving through Naples lands, which is surprising. I guess their relationship isn't as bad as I thought it was. There goes a 63 stack. We also should keep in mind this Portuguese colony. Pretty sure the Americans have their sights on them soon. The Americans have not peaced out with Revolutionary France, but at this point, it doesn't really matter. Mombasa is 27,000. Yep, Gavin had to retreat. He could not continue to press forward in the Egyptian territory. Now Egypt's going to move down south. This is bad. This is not going as well for Persia as maybe Persia initially planned. I don't know if Persia, I don't know if they weren't expecting the Americans to join, or if they weren't expecting the Americans to actually push this far forward and actually, send troops into Western Africa. I'm surprised at that. Here's a doll. And actually, oh my gosh, Persia actually already has occupation. That was probably by a doll, though. Occupation over the capital of Egypt. So Egypt's going to be forced to go back up north. Yes, they are, and they are. So thanks to these small guys, I mean, they've really made the difference. The problem is actually, it might not be that much of a problem, but if Gavin was forced to separate peace, that might be good or bad. It depends. If Gavin starts to really lose this war for Persia, then yeah, that would be good. It might be bad because of obviously all the numbers that Gavin brings on their side. So that's something to kind of take note of. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's probably a little bit more in Persia's favor now. They're only at 1 war score, so not by much. Seems like there might have been a few more wars that have popped up. Australia's at -17 war score. The Americans are at -6. That is about it. Shun versus Qing. More island nations going at it. And Australia, why is it -17 though? Well, I guess there are revolutionary French lands not too far away. I don't really understand why Australia doesn't like to get off their continent. That's something that I was discussing like quite a long time ago. Very kind of disappointed in that. Kind of disappointed that Australia doesn't do anything but be in Australian lands. I would have liked, or I guess I should have said, in the Australian continent. I would have really liked to have seen like an Australia that, tried to go after Papua New Guinea and then, progressed from there. But it seems like the AI has no interest in that. Seems like a safe choice for them. I wasn't sure if Gavin had separate peace or what. So the Americans really aren't sending the forces over. But when did the Dutch get involved in this? Oh, the Dutch have been involved, haven't they? The Netherlands are, they are allied to Revolutionary France. That's it. And Revolutionary France not doing so well, but they still called in for their buddy. They still came through, I guess, for their buddy. So what Persia needs to do is they need to sit here for a little bit. They need to sit on these lands. Aha, now they're doing a little bit better. They're doing a lot better. They could be not necessarily nearing a peace deal. Okay, so here's a 78 stack, though. They're going to need to stop that because that is going to go straight after their capital province. And Persia's moving down south, which is an issue. The 70 stack's not going to get there in time. So they are going to unoccupy their capital. Oh, that's bad. Oh, that is very bad. But Gavin seems to be holding their own, so that's a positive. The Americans were distracted a little bit by Dutch West Africa for a little bit, but now they're back on the Gavin coast. Gavin's in Mombasa lands, but they're going to have to retreat at some point to focus on the American threat coming off from the west. It's a big war, and I really like it. Very, very cool war that's going on. Egypt's starting to make some pretty big progress. It's a very, very much like a teeter-totter war. It's going back and forth. USA at 0 war score. And that is it. Persia 0. Spanish Pacific. Spanish Pacific, who are they going after? Revolutionary France. So this must be for a lot of the... Because remember, Revolutionary France is all over the place. Revolutionary France has islands everywhere, pretty much. So there could be many different reasons why, or I guess many different territory that other nations around the world would want to go after Revolutionary France. Just like, Revolutionary France is in North America, and we know that they're all in all sorts of different islands around the world too. So just stuff to kind of keep in mind, that we shouldn't be too surprised at seeing some of these not traditional nations go to war with Revolutionary France. But yeah, just want to throw that one out there. So I think this will probably, it's still kind of a toss-up, which is amazing because at this point usually we're able to tell when it comes to a war who's going to end up winning it. The thing is, though, the USA have not committed this 100 stack to go further into Gabon territory. I think Gabon's trying to go as fast as they can to separate Peace Mombasa. That would be a huge help for them at least, so then they can just focus on the Americans. It would still be really, really close, though. It still would not be a walk in the park. Adal and Persia together can barely handle Egypt, I think, but that might be because just the AI is struggling to work together, and Egypt's able to just walk around and do their thing. Persia definitely looks like they might have lost a war here. But at the same time, the Egyptians seem like their forces are starting to slowly dwindle. Yep, we've got like a few. They look like they have like around 75,000 men. But so do the Persians. The Persians don't have very many troops either. There's a 40 stack way back in Persian territory. I imagine they definitely lost a few battles. Probably when we weren't looking, they lost a few battles. Georgia looks like they've gained a little bit of strength. Georgia not liking Greece, though. Just something to keep in mind. France stopping now. They have kind of stopped their progress as they continue to move down the Italian peninsula against Naples. Oh, I guess they haven't really technically stopped. They're still going after it. They're still trying. Well, good for them. And I think Italy is going to make a small comeback. I don't think Switzerland is going to be able to take too much away. Switzerland, I think, is only at 2 provinces, so that'd make quite a bit of sense. Persia's at 4 war score. So here we go. This is the moment of truth for them. This could be it. This is such a huge war for Persia. If Persia is able to significantly win, which, I don't know. I mean, I know they've been losing a few battles. But if they're able to significantly win, did they see? Nope, they didn't pass separate peace yet. This could really, start to tumble because I think that, Greece is barely. I think the only reason why Greece is holding on is because of their Russian alliance, which who knows, that might not stay up for very much longer. Russia likes to, become friends with nations and then they just never talk again, and bad things happen. Because remember, Russia had some like unbelievable alliances in the very beginning of this campaign. They lost like all of them. For a moment there, Russia pretty much had like 0 alliances. No significant powers were allied to Russia. So it's just something to keep in mind. So I really do think that if Persia is able to win this and significantly win this, now look at the balls of the Americans landing, I think, in the Persian Gulf, or maybe they landed off south of the Arabian Peninsula. Either way, very ballsy move there. And Persia has most of their forces. Well, first of all, they're losing a lot of the battles in Egypt, in Egyptian territory. Yep, they're down to -6 war score. We also see Canada once again going after British Columbia, the Spanish Pacific on their side. But anyways, guys, I'm going to have to stop right there. It looks like Persia might lose this, but this is a very, very intense battle. Cannot wait to see the results. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.